Welcome to the Little Miss Movies podcast, where two movie-obsessed parents make their 10-year-old watch movies she'd never watch otherwise. This is episode number 6, Interstellar. Welcome to the Little Miss Movies podcast. I am Josh. I'm a writer and of television, and comic books, and I write music, and I watch a lot of movies.
And I'm Christina, and I'm a librarian and an archivist and an author, and I also watch a lot of movies.
I'm Gable. I'm in 5th grade, and I read books, play piano and cello, play video games, write, I don't think I've said that yet, and watch movies.
And Gable, why are we here?
Because this is a podcast about me watching movies and telling you guys about it.
Yeah.
About them.
And are they movies that you would choose yourself?
No. Except for maybe the one that we're about to talk about.
Really?
Maybe. It's about space.
Interesting.
I like space.
Very
It's about
interesting.
space. That works.
Well, before that, though, I think of anybody who wants to announce when this is taking place, because she's been waiting and counting down the days for this to happen. My wife, Christina, here, what year is it?
It is 2021, mercifully.
So
Yeah, it's 2020.
we made it, guys. We made it through. I mean,
We
there's
made
still,
it through.
still a few weeks left that we have to make it through, but, you know, we're alive. We made it.
We're alive. This podcast is still going on.
We're still going.
Amongst other things. And I
I'm
have
not worried about the podcast. I'm more worried about,
the universe.
Yeah, you
globally,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, this podcast is still going on. It does not have to stop.
I would like to point out I have a book coming out this year.
You do.
I do. You didn't know?
Now, here you can pre-order it.
You can pre-order it. Yeah, my book is Mean, Moody, Magnificent Jane Russell and the Marketing of a Hollywood Legend, due out June 15th from University Press of Kentucky. And if you want to contact Jeff over at Larry Edmonds in Hollywood, you can pre-order it. And that will be your only way, or one of your only ways, to get a signed copy, as well as a limited edition postcard set that I made of Jane Russell costume tests from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. So you can go to, I think it's LarryEdmonds.com, and pre-order it.
And if you are not following Christina on Instagram, you are missing out on the gigantic Gentlemen Prefer Blondes poster that was a Christmas gift for her that sits watching us as we eat.
Yeah, the Christmas gift that I purchased during a bout of auction fever that I then told Josh he was getting me for Christmas. So,
Surprise!
So our Gentlemen Prefer Blondes 6-sheet. And I also, if you like Jane Russell or maybe want to learn more about Jane Russell, I will be on my Twitter and Instagram accounts, as well as JaneRussellBiography.com, posting daily Jane Russell photos. So it is the year of Jane Russell. It's also her 100th birthday this year.
Maybe there's a Jane Russell podcast in your future.
I probably should be.
Let's probably do that.
Probably should be.
Seems like
Now that you mention it.
probably like a better use of time.
Yeah, that might be.
Yeah.
And as well as 2021, it means I'm also going to middle school. And if Hogwarts is real, it would also mean me going to Hogwarts, which it's not real, but, you know.
So you're thinking in the fall you might be going to Hogwarts?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Okay.
Because one of my friends got a letter from Hogwarts.
Yeah.
What'd it say?
It's that the evening started in Hogwarts, and like a course schedule and everything.
Oh. Wow.
Sounds real.
Cool. All right. Did we watch a movie?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Over the Christmas break, we actually watched a bunch of movies. The movie we chose, I want to frame it a little bit. So I'm crazy about 2001. I think Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey. In case you're thinking of 2010, the year we made contact, if you're getting confused.
Nobody was doing
Nobody's
that.
getting confused. I mean, equally, it does have Roy Scheider in it. So, Gable, you would be delighted.
No, thank you.
You don't want to see Brody?
No, I did not like
It's
2001.
Brody in space.
Brody in space.
No, I did.
Brody. And by the way, you know what it has instead of a shark?
No.
Evil computer.
No, thank you. Or else it's gonna
Just saying.
stop me from using Zoom the rest of the year.
You can't
You don't have a
stop
choice.
using Zoom, honey.
You don't have a choice. So, when was that? Like 3 years ago, Call It My Folly. I took Gable with me when they did the re-release to watch it in the theater. And while she is being grumpy right now about it, she certainly did not like the monkeys, and she certainly did not like
the evil robot.
Listen. She certainly did not like the trippy colored wild part at the end.
Yeah, that
but
made no
she
sense.
was like totally on board in the middle. Like she really
What?
liked the spaceship. She really liked the design. She really liked sort of like this weird future world.
No.
When it became like slightly more horror-y, I think that's when she like lost interest. But she was pretty into it, and like she was cool with it.
Did she see it twice? Didn't you two
No,
go?
I saw it once.
She saw it twice.
She saw it twice.
You
No,
saw
I
it twice.
didn't.
You saw it twice.
Because I think the two of you went and saw it,
And then we took
and
your
then
mom.
you brought me. You went and saw it twice.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Do you know why you went
And
and,
it was
saw it
like,
twice?
was it in 70 millimeter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw it 70 millimeter. The reason why you went to see it twice, Gable, would you like to know why?
Because you were going to be recording a podcast in the future.
No, because you liked it.
You liked it.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't think you
No,
liked 2001?
I didn't. I did not.
That is
I
not,
did not like it.
That is not an opinion you expressed after your second
Yeah, I
viewing.
did not like it.
Or first, yeah.
I did not like it.
But so, you know, we talked about it a lot. We talked about, you know, the special effects, and we talked about sort of the genesis of that movie. And then, of course, one of the most interesting things about it is the reason why that 70 millimeter theatrical re-release happened was a director named Christopher Nolan. And I thought to myself, like, well, what Chris Nolan movie would Gable actually enjoy watching? And the answer came to me as she is space mad. I was like, let's make her watch the most complicated,
Crazy movie.
heady of all of his movies possible. Let's watch Interstellar. And I would like, and then let me add, and then I'll let Gable go to town. I love Interstellar far more than almost any other person I've ever met. Like, I think it is a masterpiece. I sob my heart out every time. We were just watching a like one of those little like recap videos that explains the movie in case you didn't get it, just to like kind of refresh before we recorded.
Because, you know,
And-
I did not get it
yeah.
at the end.
You kind of got it. You got most of it.
Most of it, but
Um,
not really.
But like even watching like a cut down, like, okay, dummy, here's what the movie is. Even watching that, I was getting misty eyed. So like movie really works. Like it really gets me right. It really gets me right in the old heart. So Gable, tell the world, in fact, what did you think about Interstellar?
I think that is a movie about how humans are stupid, and then in like somehow thousands of years, humans become geniuses. Somehow,
Well, isn't
I think that's like the main thing of the movie.
so? You think it's about evolution?
That's what Daddy said right before we
Is that-
recorded,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, and he was like, "No, that's not what it's called. It's about."
Well, it is. Well, no, look, but it is, but that's not. With the movie, like from that front, from like the science standpoint, it's interesting because we're living through it right now, right? Like we're living in a time where there is an apocalypse, where there's this horrible thing that could have been dealt with, right?
Yeah.
And instead of dealing with it, everyone's like, la-di-da, we're going to be fine. Who cares? And that's sort of exactly what's going on in the movie. You know, like they've let the earth, you know, as the Tom Waits song goes, die screaming. And, you know, like they have sort of let everything fall down. And instead of doing what you're supposed to do, which is trusting your scientists and actually working on a solution, instead they let the world crumble. And all that's left are the few people who are sort of there to kind of, you know, clean up afterwards. And so what the movie's actually about, for me anyways, it's about exceptionalism. It's about the fact that the only reason humanity can survive is because of those exceptional few who will always push forward, and how that is the aspiration. You know, like that's what we should all be trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's really cool that they use like actual science in it, because like I did this space class over the summer that was it was mainly just about like deep space and stuff, and it actually talked about some of the planets that were in the movie, including one of them, which is, by the way, I have a poster of it, like a little tourist poster, because like I don't know, some poster person made a bunch of posters of like exoplanets, or not exoplanets, but planets,
Of Earth-like planets.
yeah,
right?
like of Earth-like planets, like planets that could support life, and this was one of them, and it's
Is it the ice planet or
no, the water one.
the water planet? Right.
It's called like Kepler something.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Kepler something. And it's really cool that they like put in enough science to actually do that. Like, because I feel like they could have had a chance to just kind of do whatever they want. Like they could have done like a planet with like pink trees and purple skies and like whatever. But instead they decided we're gonna do all this science and we're gonna get this planet right. We're gonna do all this like correctly. And I think that's really cool. And also that planet's crazy that they had waves so high that they thought they were mountains. Like, oh my god. Also I said when we were watching the movie, it seems like when they were going through the wormhole and when they were in the planet, it seemed like they were at like a giant amusement park. Because it's like going through the wormhole looks like a giant roller coaster. And then the planet with the water looked like it was like a giant water slide when they're going through the waterfall. And then now I'm thinking about it, like the ice planet, like that one feels like it's kind of like walking through the amusement park.
So are you suggesting that perhaps Christopher Nolan should look into creating an interstellar amusement park?
That'd be cool. But that's my point. Is they're
Could
not.
be right next to Harry Potter and Universal Studios.
Yes.
And you have a 1 out of 13 chance of surviving. It'd be great. Be the way to do it.
1 out of 13 chance of surviving.
I mean, you know, those are the odds. That's what you get. That's what you got to take if you're gonna ride the Christopher Nolan ride.
But that was not my point. But that was not my point. It's that it seemed like kind of like that. Just what it reminded me of was like it seems like they're going through like this giant, like a roller coaster of all this crazy stuff, and it ends with him popping into a black hole that has his daughter's bedroom. Like what?
But so that stuff, when it gets to the bedroom, so again, I've seen it a bunch of times, so I was watching it in a different way than both of you, because Christina had never seen it before either.
That's my first time. And we're assuming everybody who's listening to this has seen the movie.
Yeah, it'd be weird not to. But, you know, maybe you didn't. Maybe you want to see it, in which case we just spoiled the whole movie for you, so cool.
Sorry about that.
Good job.
The, you know, like when you get to the bedroom stuff, especially having seen it before, every single thing that happens in the movie is like so well set up, much like Die Hard. I'm not saying it's as good as Die Hard, because nothing is, but like literally every single one of those steps, they're all things that are set up, and what he does really well is he hides it all. So when he gets the coordinates that lead him to NASA, you just forget about it.
Yeah, you just kind of forget.
You're like,
about
wow, that's weird. Like you just assume like, oh, that thing had a story purpose. It got him to NASA. And
That's
then you
all.
never consider again, like, well, wait, why did the thing on the floor get him to NASA? And then you get to that part of the movie and you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because there was this thing that made no sense that happened.
Yeah, because, no, it was just kind of like, is there like aliens that are launching an attack on Earth and like they're trying to lure people out or something?
Yeah, no, and it like...
Or you just kind of overlook, you're just like, oh, okay, it's one of these crazy things that's happening on this future Earth.
And what I like most about that like that end section, especially when you compare it to the end section of 2001, where like the end of 2001 is rad and it is bonkers. Like I
don't even remember the end of 2001.
At the end is when he's like going and there's all the colors on the helmet.
I remember that part.
And then he wakes up and he's in a hotel room, and every room in the hotel room is a different aged version of himself, and the monolith appears, and then he watches himself die multiple times. It's cool.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember
like,
watching himself
it's
die.
It's super incoherent. Like it's just a bunch of random stuff happening. Which, you know, please feel free to write and complain about me saying that, and tell me what it is, because I've seen that movie a lot of times and I still have no idea. As opposed to in this, where his, like, when you see all of these kind of like conflicting things that the quote unquote ghost had done,
Yeah.
in the first chunk of the movie, you realize that he's actually going through grief. Like, he's actually going through all these, like, because first he's just like, he's angry, and when he's angry, he hits the bookshelf, and that makes a book fall down. And then he's like, oh God, I can change things, right? And so the next thing he does is when he sees himself getting ready to leave,
He
he
says,
says
stay.
right? Because he knows, like, oh crap, I can actually do things. And then he realizes, wait, I can do things. That means that I'm the one who did it, which means that I'm the one who told her how to get to NASA, which means I can actually change things, which then leads to him giving her the directions to NASA and then eventually giving her, like,
The coordinates of the black hole.
like, and how to fix everything.
Yeah. I think that he probably should have done on it. He probably should have done with the bookshelf. He probably should have done, like, stay, you moron, or something. To get himself to stay. Other than stay. Because, like, he probably remembers earlier, like, you know, for him only, like, 2 years or whatever, but for her, like, 50 years. He probably remembers her saying, it says stay. When he probably remembers himself being like, it's just some random thing. It does not matter. I'm trying to save humanity here. Okay? So he probably should, or like something more detailed than just stay. Like, he could have done, like, maybe, like, I don't know, like, you'll never see her again or something.
That's also, but that's when you get into the time travel stuff, which, you know, I've written a bunch of time travel books, and it's always a problem, because you can't, if he can change things that happened, then he would have changed them, but he can't because they happened. So therefore, anything he does is going to make them happen. So he has to make them happen because they happened.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
I basically just heard happened a bunch of times. My mind just heard happened. He happened.
But
He
like,
happened.
so for me as a parent watching it, the thing about that scene is that scene more than even the other side, like at the beginning when it's about being a parent. That scene is about the realization that, like, and I think every parent has it, I would assume, of realizing that, like, your job, like, yes, your job is to do what you do and to make a living and to, you know, do good and everything. But really, like, your purpose is to sort of, like, guide your children. You know, like, the path that you walk as an adult, as a parent, is actually to make way for your child to follow behind you and to then eventually walk past you and succeed you. And I think it does such a, like, it's such a, it's like a really complicated concept. Like, it's hard to even having watched it and knowing what I'm trying to say, it's still hard to kind of convey it. You know, does that make sense?
Where it's like you're thinking, but you don't know how to put it into words.
You know what I'm saying?
Or like you're thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Like you're thinking, like, do you mean like, so like you know what you're thinking about, but you can't put it into a, like,
no, not that part.
words or
I'm
something?
saying no, I'm not saying do you understand what it's like when I can't use words.
Do you understand the actual concept he's
No,
Yeah.
trying to?
Chrissy, you
I
try.
don't.
No, just that, I mean that there's the fundamentals of being a parent, which is, you know, keeping your kid alive. But then there is, you know, kind of, well, it's setting the example and laying the path for your kid for good or bad. That, you know, whether we realize it or not, how we live and our actions do set the stage for how our kids grow up behind us. Is that what you're trying to say?
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, no matter what, like, even if you don't, even as a parent, you're not trying to, like, you no matter what you do, you are laying that path, whether you realize it or not, whether you are trying or not, whether you are, you know, good at it or terrible at it, or good and terrible at it.
Well, there's this, so Gable, get ready. We're going to go deep.
What?
There's this idea of fatalism, right? Which is that everything is going to end and everything will eventually come to an end, right? Everything's going to come to an end, and there's sort of there's like an inherent darkness to that concept.
You're just making me very depressed.
But
and
I haven't even
scared.
gotten to that part yet. But the thing about the movie is that it takes that idea of, like, he was predestined to do all this. That no matter what, he didn't actually have a choice.
He was
So if-
definitely going to do it.
Like, if you look at the movie and you look at all the decisions he makes every time, ultimately those decisions were made for him, and he had no say in them.
Yeah.
except he's the one who made them, right? So it's this sort of interesting, like, it's very cerebral, which is what the director, it's what Christopher Nolan's known for. The difference is most of his other movies are all cerebral, and they're not cerebral about heart stuff, about feelings. So there's lots of, like, what I call, like, as a writer, what I call math. So it's a lot of, like, how do I make this fall here so that this can fall here and so that this can do that? You know, the idea that part of the ending of the movie is, like, I know that it'll work because of love. Like, it must, like, because his brother co-wrote the script with him, but I can see them sitting there and being like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like, to use the word love as the solution to the movie is insane. But it's kind of
as
perfect.
it's the solution to Frozen as well.
You know, no, because, like, but that is, you know, like, I think, like, I've talked to both of you about, like, I'm every TV show, every movie, every romantic comedy, every drama, everything, Die Hard, even Die Hard. Like, everything is essentially a family drama. Like, everything that's actually genuinely compelling is about the relationship between a group of people who are, you know, linked for eternity. You know, that no matter what. No, it is. And, like, Harry Potter is very much about, Harry Potter is about a kid who doesn't have a family who finds a family.
At Hogwarts.
You know, and, like, and how that family both shapes him and disappoints him. You know, like, that's part of why I think adults like Harry Potter as much as kids. Is I think Harry Potter sort of, like, existed as this sort of, like, it's a picture of, like, your parents expected this of you. Right? There's this huge weight put on you before you were born that, like, you were going to do this and this and this, which, especially for, I think, kids your mom and my age, was a thing. Like, it was much more so than now, where it's like, you can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want to be. Like, that was never a thing when we were kids. You know, like, when I wanted to be a writer or an actor, it was like, or a lawyer. You can be a lawyer, you know, and it was like a fight to not go to law school.
Really?
Even when we were about to get married.
Yeah, and I'd sold my first book to Random House, and, you know, your grandpa kept saying, like, well, now that you're married, it's time to go to law school. And I was like, for what? Why would I do that? I'm fine. You know, like, but that's that mentality. And that's something that's just so different for you guys, because we are kind of overly aware of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where it's like, so you're trying to say,
like, you guys, you have a freedom.
like my generation has, like, a freedom that you guys and past generations didn't really have.
Yeah, and it's also true that, like, you know, our parents, you know, like, my mom was an opera singer, and she had to choose between being an opera singer and having a family. You know, and, like, what she chose, a family, so she put away her whole career. It's like she had the same thing, whereas, you know, your mom doesn't just have her job, but she's also a writer. She also does all these other side things that she loves doing. She does the podcast, she does all these things, and it in no way impacts her ability to be your mom. You know, like, you don't think that, like, you have a half-time mom because she has a job, I think.
Or do you?
Or do you?
I don't.
She's like a 75%.
I think I have a halftime mom when you're writing your books, though.
Oof.
Which I'm fine with that.
Oof, this got dark.
I'm fine with that, though.
I know. I've already had the guilt thrown at me.
Yeah.
I've already had the guilt thrown.
I'm fine with it.
That's
though.
why I dedicate the books to you, honey, to try to make up for the time I'm spending working on them. What I will say about the movie in regards to Gable is that it's very long.
It's 3 hours.
It's 3 hours long. And I think originally the plan, Josh was going to break it up and have us watch it over 3 nights.
And so we watched it all in one.
We watched it all at once. And the only reason we took a little break in between is because I had to go do something. Otherwise, I think we would have just sat through and watched the whole thing in one sitting.
I mean, for like half of it, I was like shaking, but Yeah.
What?
I was shaking. Daddy can tell you.
You were shaking?
Yeah, because it was terrifying.
Oh, I didn't realize. I wasn't sitting.
You were
next to
sitting
you.
on the desk chair.
Well, the other thing I will say about it is that I mean, I do think you were pretty riveted by it. I do feel that you went to bed and started having an existential crisis because of the movie, and in the middle of the night, ended up in bed with us, which wasn't so great.
Saying,
Yeah,
I don't know where my fourth and fifth dimensions are. I just want to know, when will I have mastery of gravity? Please.
What?
So ultimately, I don't know if this is a super appropriate movie for a 10-year-old. I don't, especially when, as thoughtful as you, who went to bed worrying that the world was going to end. I think was the big takeaway.
Why do you think that was your? Why did you think that?
Because the movie is about a person who literally goes into space to save the world from ending. And then he basically does not succeed. And then he succeeds somehow by going through into a magical fifth dimension.
You have explained the hero's journey, Gable.
I know.
That is the hero's journey.
I know.
It does get dark. It does, it does get so dark that I was about to just start playing games on my phone because I didn't want to.
I was about to go and reach over to my phone.
Yeah. So it does. It certainly redeems itself, but it does get very dark though.
Yeah, there's like the
and when I just think watching it, during a time,
when all this stuff is happening.
when it has felt, in many respects like our world is ending or jeopardized the last year. It was a heavy watch. It was certainly a heavy watch.
Like, seriously, one of the astronauts lies to them, brings them out to the middle of nowhere to save his own skin, and then he tries to kill the main guy, Cooper, by cracking open his helmet, and then he almost dies.
And again,
and also almost falls off a glacier. But
okay, so again, I'm assuming that people who are listening to this have already seen the movie. I don't know that I like Matt Damon being the bad guy. I think I had a really hard time with that.
I do like that you get surprised Matt Damon and you're like, hey, it's Matt Damon. Oh, God damn it.
and then he blows himself up.
It really, which was very satisfying. It really made me want to watch The Martian. It's like, I just want to watch nice Matt Damon.
I will say because, as we were talking about it, I was like, oh, we should show her Gravity. Like, Gravity is sort of like the totally like lightweight, like it's an action movie. It's really easy.
And it has a woman protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
There's a woman protagonist.
Did you watch it? I can't remember if you watched it or not.
No, she didn't watch it.
I watched The Martian.
You watched The Martian.
You watched The Martian.
And I watched part of Mars Attacks.
It's a very different.
Mars Attacks is a very different movie.
It's a space movie. I also watched Alien.
An Alien.
There's 4 space movies.
You did watch Alien.
I've watched 2.5 of them.
It's in, the thing that I think about, that Alien's actually an interesting reference. I think like so when while Star Wars was getting made, stay with me.
There's another space movie.
To start a like long jaunt. So while Star Wars was being made, there was a movie called Dune. We always talk about Dune, and your mom doesn't want to talk about it because she saw it as a child and was traumatized. And I love it. I love the books more than anything, and I love everything about Dune. But so they were trying to make Dune in the 70s, and the director essentially hired everybody who wasn't working on Star Wars, right? And so on the Star Wars side, you had all the fantasy guys who were doing this like kind of beautiful, like wondrous Star Wars stuff, and then you had all these other guys doing Dune, which was all this like monstery terribleness of just like depressing junk, right? That the future is garbage and like everyone's falling apart and like nothing good can happen. And then Dune didn't get made, but those guys all like spread out and went out into science fiction.
And probably some of them into Star Wars.
Not really. Like they kind of all stayed separate. Like the Lucasfilm guys, like the ILM guys who were the Star Wars people, they kind of stayed together on their side. But then these other guys went and did Alien, and they went and did Blade Runner and
2001.
No, because after 2001. 2001 actually is where people split from. Like 2001 was sort of before all of it.
Okay.
And like they would then go on to do like the 80s movies, doing Terminator and
all the
Predator,
dystopian,
all the dystopian stuff.
Terminator 2.
And what kind of happened, and what you still see is there's this big, like, there's a fracture in science fiction that is, like, actually, I think, best explained as Star Wars versus Star Trek, right? So Star Wars is very, fantastical, and, like, everything is sort of this very, like, impractical, almost illogical methodology, right?
Not
Like,
almost. Wait, do you mean like logical? Like it doesn't.
they have a laser
sound-
sword. Laser sword doesn't make a lot of sense. The Force, I understand they have midichlorians, but
It's another galaxy, man.
another galaxy
Yeah,
far,
the
far
whole
away.
thing probably can't
Anything can happen.
happen.
Whereas you have Star Trek, which is, current series aside, like, Star Trek is very grounded. It's like in our world. It's supposed to be set in it's our future. It's very much about, like, how would a military / government organization run the future? Like, it's very grounded in reality.
You just set me off from ever watching Star Trek. I'm never watching that.
That was my point. That was not my point.
I'm already terrified of the government. I don't want to watch that the
I
government.
can't believe
ruling
that
Earth.
Donald Trump has made my daughter into a libertarian.
Oh
This
my
is very
god.
sad.
Who refuses to watch Star Trek?
This is very sad. It's very, very sad. No, but Star Wars I think Star Trek actually is weirdly more positive than Star Wars.
How?
Because Star Trek is about diplomacy. Star Trek is about there's no such thing as bad guys.
Yeah. There's such thing as bad guys.
There's bad individuals. There's not bad people. Like, there's not bad cultures, I guess. More the point. So on Star Trek, you have, like, the races that are, like, on the first series, the Klingons were bad. But then in the second series, the Klingons have made peace. And so the Klingons are good guys. But not all of the Klingons are good guys. Like, it's much more subtle, and it's much more kind of, like, it's what Lucas tried to do with the prequels very badly. Anyways, my point with all of this, I had somewhere to go, is that you have these sort of, like, two schools of science fiction where you have sort of, like, the big bombastic, like, crazy stuff, which I would actually put, like, Mars Attacks under, where they're just sort of
No.
fun, popcorny stuff.
It's not. No, Mars Attacks is not fun.
Mars Attacks is totally fun.
No, it's
Don't listen to it.
not. It's
Folks,
not.
Folks, let me tell you. Don't
Folks,
listen
if
to
you
it.
have a 10-year-old kid,
Show them
or
Mars
under,
Attacks.
don't watch it.
Show them Mars Attacks.
No.
I think she almost ended up in bed with us that night too. So maybe don't
Yeah.
show them Mars Attacks.
And then you have, what I think Nolan does, which is these, like, ultra researched, like, almost, like, bizarrely real takes on things, where, like, he went and he actually had a scientist who was an executive producer on the movie who sat down with every one of the departments and actually worked on how things are going to look and how things are going to sound and how things are going to function and how all the planets needed to, like, actually be able to exist in nature. Otherwise, they weren't allowed to use them. And all the equipment had to be, theoretically functional and, like, all that sort of stuff.
Which you appreciated.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this funny thing where, like, the interest in how they use technology now is such a different framing of story, and I think it's interesting for me that, like, that's the stuff that you were sort of most impressed by in the movie.
There is one thing that I would complain about the planets. There is this one other planet that I wish they would have put in the movie. And it's this one where it's literally just a planet floating around in space.
It's what?
It's just, there's this, like, category of planets where they are planets, like, they're planet size, and they have, like, atmosphere, but they're just floating around in space.
So they're not in the orbit of a
They're
star.
not in orbit of a star. And so they're, like, just really dark. And I wish, like, they're dark. Like, not like evil, that kind of dark.
They are not Sith. They are not the Sith Lords.
Not the Sith planet.
They're like dark, as in, like, no light and everything. And I think that would have been cool if they had put that into.
But wouldn't they be uninhabitable?
I mean,
How could you live on it if there wasn't sun?
you'd live underground and you put a bunch of lights up. Like sun lamps up.
But you'd like it if they bring their lamps up. You'd like it if they at least maybe
Yeah,
not talked about it
because
or
I think it'd
acknowledged
probably
it.
be cool to see
Yeah.
that made into a movie.
Yeah.
Well, that is kind of what ultimately, though, that is sort of what they do, right? Like that's what the colonies are. They're like free floating satellites.
Yeah. And fun fact, scientists think that those planets actually went off of their orbits because like asteroids knocked them off or something, which is kind of cool. And they go have like a faint glow when you like see them from like a satellite or you see them from outer space, but then they're completely dark when you're actually on the planet. It's cool.
That is cool.
So one more fun fact, and this is an IMDb fact, so you gotta, your mileage maybe. Oh God, what's the expression? Your mileage may vary. Sorry, your mileage may vary. Supposedly, the way they rendered the black holes in the movie was using all of these theories that their consulting scientist had, and in the process of rendering them, they actually proved all of these theories of his
Yeah.
that he thought that like no one had ever actually proven to be accurate. And so he ended up publishing papers using how the visual design effects department put together the visual effects as, a actual like working model of how black holes would really function. It's pretty crazy.
And how wormholes would really function.
And how wormholes would really function.
They're not scientifically proven yet, but the theory behind them makes sense. Like the way they explained it in the movie, where it's like you have a piece of paper, you have side X and side Y, and you want to get them together, but the distance is too far to travel, and like it folds over on itself. So that makes sense. I still don't get how that would happen, like in space, like of natural causes. That doesn't make any sense. Like how would the universe just fold in on itself?
Well, in the movie, it doesn't.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
But like, how could that actually happen in? Okay, one, how could humans do that? And two, pointing at you.
The look she just gave him.
Pointing at you. I'm trying to get you to answer. But two, would it be possible for that to actually happen? Like not man-made, but like nature literally does that, or like not nature, but space. Like space literally folded on itself and makes like a hole straight through.
Listen, I'm a writer. I just pretend to know how things work. I don't actually know how things work. Somebody tells me do this, and I do it, and it seems like it's real.
Do like the future humans figure out how to like get like a giant pair of scissors and like fold it?
I don't think it's a giant pair of scissors, but maybe. But I don't know. Maybe it is.
It's a giant pair of space scissors. Thank you very much.
Space scissors.
But no, that's again, like that goes to what, when we started and you were talking about how stupid people are and then they become smart. But that is the point, is that things that we do, it's the idea of imagine, handing an iPhone to somebody in the 1950s.
Oh my God.
I could even imagine just handing an iPhone to somebody in the 1980s. Like when I was, like we didn't. Star Trek had things like that, but we could have never conceived of iPhones.
Daddy, now you've got me thinking of like like Hamilton, like an iPhone, or like musical Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't get it out of my head now.
But that's the reality, is like they say any, technology given enough time appears to any civilization as magic, right?
Magic.
So if you have enough technology, you can convince anybody that something isn't, is magical.
The iPhone is magical, Daddy.
I mean, when they first came out, everyone was pretty amazed. Like it was pretty sensationally odd for everyone.
Daddy, the Nintendo Switch is magical.
It is magical. It has completely changed how video games work. No, it is.
I mean, like when I was a kid, like the VCR was magical. Just to be able to record something off the TV and rewatch it over and over again, like that was insane.
The Christmas tree is magical.
I mean, it's not tinsel and it doesn't catch on fire. It's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
It's a pretty good evolution.
So I would like to point out Christopher Nolan, I think his movies are definitely experiences. I do enjoy his movies. I do think, he is incredible. His movies are very disorienting and mind-bending. And his movies are not ones that I care to watch more than once. So I find it interesting that you enjoy watching his movie. You watch all of his movies? Or I'm totally cool if I never see this movie ever again.
I think I'd want to watch Interstellar again when I'm older.
Really? You and your dad can have fun, because I think I'm good. Like, I saw Memento, whenever it was first out, like on home video.
98, I think.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't ever need to see Memento again.
I worked in a movie theater when Memento came out, and when you work in a movie theater, you get to see movies in like the oddest way, which is like 5-minute chunks, which for that movie is pretty odd, like a very strange way to watch that movie. So I've seen that movie literally hundreds of times, just in weird, different configurations.
Weird. Yeah.
No, I'm not like, I can watch any of his movies from any point. Like I like watching them, from a craft standpoint, like how they're made. They're just because they're exceptionally put together. I think the emotional stuff is so wobbly, in most of them, that like I have less interest. Like I think even like despite being a comic book guy, like I'm not like crazy about the Batman movies. And the biggest problem, and I'm glad this is now a often discussed problem, is his sound mixes are terrible. So when I first saw Interstellar, there's a part of the movie where Michael Caine is dying, and he says something, and the thing that he says is literally the most important sentence in the movie.
Really?
And you can't hear it.
You just kind of hear like,
and you're like, what? What did he just say? And then it like sets off this whole, like the whole back half of the plot. And you're like, well, what the hell did he say? Like, how did you, and like, when I watched it, I can't remember if I watched it on TV or I watched it streaming. Like I watched it somehow where I could not see it with captions. And I was like furious about it, that I couldn't figure out what he said. And so I was like looking on YouTube and like trying to figure out like, what the hell did he say? And so I made sure when I showed it to you this time.
he literally
He
paused it
and put the
captions
captions on so we could hear what he was saying.
Wait, what did he said that like plan A wasn't actually going to
There is
work?
no plan A. Yeah. He says there was no plan A. There was only plan B.
And that.
And you're
He
like,
abandoned.
oh, yeah, that's the most crucial part of the movie. Like it totally
And then he
changes
tells her
everything.
that she's going to die. In like a giant dust storm, basically. Basically,
Yeah, I
what
think he
tells-
does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says your dad's not returning. I'm sorry. And then he dies. And she's like, but why? And then he dies, and she goes and she sends a message to the one in the spacecraft, and she's like, did you know that you're going to abandon us and just let us die?
And the answer is no, he didn't know.
No, she didn't. No, Cooper.
Yeah, he didn't know.
He didn't know.
But she wasn't talking to Cooper, though.
He was talking to the daughter. Talking to Anne, what's her name?
Whatever her name is. What's her name?
God, what's her name?
What?
I like how I'm terrible at names when I'm being recorded.
What? Who? Murph or Brand?
Brand.
Brand.
Anne Hathaway. There you go.
Yeah. So I will say the one thing I absolutely love about this movie, which is so insignificant, is that the space station was filmed inside the Bonaventure Hotel in downtown. That made me so happy, because I work at Central Library, which is catty corner from the Bonaventure. So when we're not in a pandemic and I'm actually working downtown, I spend my lunch breaks. I go exercise walking around that lobby at the Bonaventure.
And now you can walk around it pretending it's the
Yes.
ark that's going to save mankind.
I can
fake
one day
arc.
whenever I'm able to go back to work, but it actually made me a little bit sad because I've grown to love the Bonaventure. It is just this very like brutal concrete architecture inside, but I've absolutely grown to love it because I have spent so much time just walking around it. That I've grown very fond of it. So I was a little bit, as if his movies don't disorient me enough, as I'm watching it, I'm like, wait, I feel like
I've hidden
This
it.
is
also
something that I
it's so
know.
familiar. I know that place. And yeah, it was the Bonaventure.
You looked it up on your phone.
I did. That was one thing I grabbed my phone. I'm like, I think that's that place that I miss so much. So it is like the most like perfectly temperature controlled space in the city. It's for being such a massive space, it is like so beautifully temperature controlled.
I could be wrong. I feel like it's
I
in.
miss that building so much.
I feel like it's in I Am Legend too.
Is it?
I could be wrong. I feel like it
I Am
is.
Legend.
I
It's
don't even
possible.
know what that is.
So Gable, once we're through the pandemic and we can, go out in the world again, we'll go have mocktails at the top of the Bonaventure in the rotating restaurant.
I wonder if like Alamo they have like their touring they're like road shows where they show movies in the places they were shot.
Ooh, that'd be
Cool.
cool.
To show
The
it.
Bonaventure, because
Might
they
be
have
great.
they have ballrooms like right off, the
If somebody
the
who
lobby.
works
I'm gonna
at
write
the Alamo
I'm
is
gonna-
listening,
I'm gonna write a letter.
Are you?
Yeah.
Maybe wait till the pandemic's
No,
over.
I'm writing a letter
Do it
right
now.
now. I'm doing it. I'm not even hitting stop on the podcast. This is you
You're
guys
just
sit
gonna
here and
go
listen.
for it.
You guys hang out.
I think that is the way I would go watch Interstellar again, is if I could watch it inside the Bonaventure.
so if anybody who works at the Alamo is listening, go and tell it to your boss that you need to do a screening of Interstellar at the Bonaventure.
So Gable,
cool.
having watched a Christopher Nolan movie, admittedly, like probably the weird. Is it the weirdest? You think Inception? You think Inception's the weirdest.
Inception's pretty weird. I think Inception's weirder.
She like Prestige, I think.
I
No.
like Prestige.
You know who's in the Prestige,
No,
Gable?
Prestige.
No,
You know who's in it?
no.
It's first of all, Nikola Tesla is in it.
Who is that?
You know who Nikola
Tesla.
Tesla?
Oh,
Like as in
As
Tesla
a
Coil.
character, yeah.
oh, okay.
And you know who plays him?
Who?
David
Harry
Bowie.
Potter.
David Bowie.
Did you just say Harry Potter?
Yes.
Oh, honey, do you not know Harry Potter's not real?
No, I meant like the actor who played Harry
Oh,
Potter.
Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah.
No.
David Bowie, honey. David Bowie. And you know who else is in it?
Ew.
Wolverine.
Well, yeah. Okay.
That means less to
Daddy, do you not
I-
know that Wolverine is not real?
you. Yes.
I do stand corrected. I will watch The Prestige again because I do love Hugh Jackman and David Bowie. And it's not
Oh, it's
as
super dark.
no, it's
the-
not. It's
the,
not.
like,
no,
reveal-
no, it's not as the reveal's disorienting, but the movie itself is not as disorienting
No.
as like Memento or Interstellar or
Yeah.
or Inception.
Well, it's much more linear too. Like there's no.
It is linear, right? As I recall,
It's like
It's been a
mostly
while.
linear. Like the reveal, like it reveals itself to be non-linear at the end. I think.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember liking that one.
Yeah, it moves great.
I would like that one. You throw David Bowie in a movie.
That's good. Insomnia is good. Insomnia is the Al Pacino in Alaska, the Midnight Sun one, where he's investigating
oh,
a
God,
crime.
We saw that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's him and
I don't
Aaron
really
Eckhart.
remember it.
It's real good.
I
It's a remake, oddly.
like vaguely remember that, but that sure didn't stick with me. Memento is like the movie of his that stuck with me more than any other.
Yeah, well, it's great.
Yeah.
His first movie's great. Following is really good. He's great. He's real good. I like him.
But
so-
I think we're gonna hold off on Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah,
because
hold off. You're holding
she's
off.
not a toddler anymore. So when she crawls in bed, like you two just push me off. And I did not get my sleep that night. And when I don't get my sleep, like I was a
you're
wreck.
cranky you're
I was
angry at me.
I was I was just angry at the world. I need my sleep. So I need Gable to not wake up in the middle of the night having like a crisis because of a movie and kick me off the bed.
Yeah.
So, Gable, would you recommend Interstellar to other 10-year-olds,
No.
other 12-year-olds?
I'm not a 12-year-old, but
Like
no.
where? How old?
Probably 12 or 13.
What interests would a child need to have in order for their parent to share it with them?
Space and really, really dark movies. Or not really, really dark, but dark movies.
Yeah. What was this one?
And Michael Caine. If they're big fans of Michael Caine,
that
he's definitely in it.
And
I think
probably
it's
like
hard to find a movie that Michael Caine's not in.
and probably like a really scientific mind to be able to be like,
Yeah.
oh, I see how this is possible. It's not just some weird random thing that's happening in this movie.
What's it rated? Do you know?
It's got to be rated R.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it's not.
Really?
Maybe not. I don't know. You're welcome to. You can look it up.
You want me to look it up?
Mama, look
Sure.
it up. You can use my phone. It's right
I'll
there.
use your phone.
Use my phone. Here, give me my
What
phone.
would you? One of the things we haven't been doing that we
Mama,
probably
give me-
should, on
give
a
me.
scale of 1 to 5 Gable thumbs, how many Gable thumbs would you give it? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best.
4.
It's pretty good.
Wow, that is pretty good.
Hold on, we're looking for the. We're looking for it. This part's thrilling.
We're looking for the
Let's
rating.
see. What is the rate?
You know that it doesn't
Only
care.
because I
If, you know that it
don't
doesn't. You know that it doesn't care if you ask it in a sentence, right?
I don't care. PG-13.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because there's not
I'm
there's not
correct.
cussing in it,
It's true.
and there's not nudity in it.
And there's a bunch
At
of
no
pictures of
point-
him on the
At
ice
no
planet.
point does he say, "All right, all right."
Oh yeah, Matthew. I don't think we did mention that Matthew McConaughey is the star of this
He's
movie.
very good in it. I actually think it's
He's
one of
fantastic
I
in
actually
it.
think it's one of his best roles.
He's fantastic.
It suffers from that thing where you have to believe he's a genius, which is, stretching it a little bit.
No, I buy it.
Well, and what's funny is you have to believe he's a genius at the top, but then everybody else the rest of the movie is explaining stuff to him. Like, he's the character who people give exposition to, despite the fact that he's supposed to be a genius.
Genius.
It's
Do
odd.
you know that somewhere, I don't know where, maybe in storage, I have an autographed photo of Matthew McConaughey?
From what?
I think the photo is from, oh God, what's the movie where he's a lawyer?
The Lincoln Lawyer?
Not the Lincoln Lawyer, no, earlier. God,
I know the Lincoln Lawyer.
it's not the Lincoln Lawyer.
Failure to Launch
It's
with
not.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Well, it's definitely not that.
That's all I got.
No, where, oh God,
Mud? Is Mud he's the
No.
lawyer in that? I don't know.
I don't even know what that is.
Dallas Buyers Club? Is that what? I don't know what that is either.
Earlier than that.
Oh, Dazed and Confused.
It's not Dazed and Confused, but the photo is signed Just Keep Living, Livin. Matthew McConaughey. Let me see your phone.
What?
Someone look up.
Well, there's this is the thing that says why it's rated PG-13. It's because there's intense, perilous action and brief, strong language.
So we got 4 out of 5 is our rating. Have we watched? Are there any other movies you want to give quick reviews of that we've watched recently? We're seeing Wonder Woman in the next couple days,
And Casablanca.
and Casablanca. We're gonna have I think our next episode's gonna be Casablanca.
A Time to Kill.
Oh, A Time to Kill. That is a John Grisham, Francis Ford Coppola,
Yes.
I believe.
We finally finished watching Mank after I think that took us like 6 separate sittings.
How did you-
because
No, it
Gable
took us
kept
3
falling
separate.
asleep.
How did
Oh,
you
it was-
How did you
yeah.
like Mank, Gable?
It was all right.
How did it change your feelings about Citizen Kane?
No,
Not at all.
Not at
Not
all.
at all.
Not at all. No, yeah, I did not really like Mank.
But you kept because we would have gladly like watched it without you because we both wanted to finish it, but you kept wanting to you
Kept
kept
stopping us.
watching it like you wanted to watch
And
it,
every time we'd be like, "You're not to finish it if you don't want."
and
And
you're
she's
like,
like,
no,
"No,
I
no,
want to.
no, no."
Are you that dedicated to like watching the movie with Sirius Black playing?
Yeah,
Mankiewicz?
kind of.
Really?
Did you keep hoping that he would cast a spell?
That he's
Yes.
going to turn into a black
some
dog
point.
at some point.
That would have been awesome. And I half hoped that would happen,
But
but I
did
know
you?
it
I mean,
wouldn't.
you watched it like willingly.
It was all right.
Yeah, I think you
And-
learned a lot about Hollywood because we kept stopping to point out what was going on.
It was all right.
That's all you got.
Yeah, I did not
Yeah.
really like it.
Okay.
All right.
And yet again, insisted on watching.
Very strange.
Uh,
So Gable,
Yeah.
we haven't done this before, but I think it's probably time we start. On a scale of 1 to 5 smiling Gables, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, how many smiling Gables would you give Interstellar?
4.
4 out of 5. So you wouldn't recommend it to your friends. Please
No.
God.
No. No.
Copy that. This is a recurring
No.
theme that we're finding, that she enjoys things and thinks that nobody who knows her would like them, and possibly is keeping that a secret from them. Are you keeping this a secret from them?
No.
We're going to be back next week. Are we decided Casablanca?
I think why don't we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's do Casablanca.
We're gonna do
Sure.
Let's
Cas-
go for it.
That's your pick, Mama.
I think it's starting to become apparent which episodes are the Josh picks, and which are the Christina picks.
And which
I
non-existent
mean, I was
ones.
planning on doing Taxi Driver for the next one. Is that not okay suddenly? Can you suddenly not show movies about psychopaths who think they can take ladies on dates and then rescue child prostitutes? Is that not something okay to show to a 10-year-old all of a sudden? Am I... What?
I
Is
love
everyone looking at me?
I love Taxi Driver though. I really do.
I think you can probably
no.
tell which non-existence ones are my picks.
Well, that's not the
The
concept.
point.
The point is not for you to pick movies that you've not seen. I mean, I suppose if you have a movie, here, listen. If you come up with a movie that you've not seen that you want to see, cool. We'll do that.
Santa Jaws.
I'm sorry, what?
Santa Jaws.
Santa Jaws? We gave you the option to watch Santa Jaws. You said no to Santa Jaws. I think that ship has sailed because we already did our Christmas episode.
I disagree. I think we can still watch it. I'm still on board for this.
Yes.
I just don't want to watch Santa Jaws.
Maybe that'll be a special daddy-daughter episode.
Might be.
Yeah, where Mommy, you
It's
can
a
go and do
bonus
whatever.
content.
Yeah, Mommy, you can go and do whatever you want. It can be secret Christmas
We'll
part
do
2.
We'll do a live stream.
Yeah, let's do that.
And with
Sounds
that, we will see you guys next
Next week.
Monday. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
See you
Happy
next
New
time.
Year.
Happy New Year. The Little Miss Movies podcast is hosted by Christina Rice, Gable Fialkov, and me, Josh Fialkov. We're recorded, mixed, and produced in North Hollywood, California. Series art by Gabo. Episode art by Gable Fialkov. Theme song by Gibby and the V's. All content copyright 2020, Valoria Shines Inc. Visit us online for more at littlemissmovies.com. And just a brief editorial note, since this was recorded, Gable has watched much Star Trek and enjoyed it.